Hello, it's James Pratt again with the Ride Oklahoma, and we're back with Matt Flaming, and we're talking again about GPS for adventure riding. And our last episode, we talked a little bit about kind of how GPS works and how it's a one-way communication. And today, Matt, you're going to talk a little more about actually making routes and tracks. You want to kind of cover that because we've talked about how the GPS works and how you receive signals. You don't have to have a map, but you have the map data you got to get over some way. But this is more of a we're getting into how to make the routes and tracks you want to go on. So you want to cover
Yeah,
that?
yeah, sure. So, we kind of touched a little bit on last time on the types of devices that we would use. So you've got your dedicated Garmin, TomTom, Lawrence, Magellan. There's a few brands out there, and then smartphone apps, and just a phone and a tablet with a smartphone app or something like that. So I think one of the things that really trips people up is the definitions of what what a GPX file really is. Um, so in essence, it's just a text file. So creating a track a GPX file, um, it's technically just what would be called an XML file format. I've got one here I can share with you real quick. So in general, this is just a basic text file. You'll see here, this is a waypoint. It's just a set of latitude, longitude. That is a coordinate. Here, this is the time that waypoint was created. The name of that waypoint. So this would be considered a POI, a point of interest on the map. So then it's got some more data here, but you'll see this WPT, so that stands for a waypoint, and then it's got all the stuff for it. And then you go down and here's a track that's included in that in this file. So you've got a track with track segments and track points, and essentially that's kind of how you create your track. It's just a series of waypoints.
Yeah,
So
track. That's what we were talking about in the prior episode. And tracks and waypoints are kind of the same thing. I was going to have to leave it up there, but
oh, you
but
want me to leave
the
that there?
yeah.
Okay,
But they're
yeah,
not really the same thing. They're kind of the same thing because they're all just coordinates.
yeah. So
It's basically a Latin long coordinate,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
a waypoint has a lot more information about it, and a track is just a whole bunch of waypoints all strung together.
exactly.
But
Yeah,
actually, I'll just take it back. They're not a bunch of waypoints. A track is a whole bunch of GPS coordinates all stuck together.
correct. Yeah, that'd
Yeah,
be more appropriate to say.
yeah,
And a lot of times it gets conflated as a waypoint, as a bunch of waypoints, right? So
yeah.
we kind of use that terminology generally. But it's just a waypoint is a simple set of coordinates, and then you can use shaping or via waypoints. Those are the different types. Some applications will call them a little bit different things, but for the most part, they're considered the standard is a shaping point and a via point. And then you've got the waypoint can be used to reference a point of interest. So coffee shop, gas station, museum, landmark, etc. So that's kind of what you see in this file here. Is here's a waypoint. This indicates that there's something there. So it's got all the information that it needs, and
Yep,
then a little bit of extra information for your device to read in case it has capabilities there.
yep.
Um, and then so yeah, then you got your track. So your track point, um, your tracks will
It's like a
it's
breadcrumb,
yeah,
whole
yep, a
bunch of
whole
little GPS
bunch of them,
coordinates.
and how many are there depends on how quickly or how much what the time frame is which you're
Yep,
recording these.
yep,
So so you'll see there's the end of that track and that track segment.
yep,
And then you'll see this new track pop up here.
yep.
So and you can see I'm forcing it to be a green color on some devices. So
And then so a route now. So a route is kind of like that, except instead of having a whole bunch of just little bitty coordinates, it has the waypoints, and so it'll have a starting waypoint, it'll have what you call shaping or via, waypoints,
Yeah.
and then it'll have an ending.
Yeah, so on the route points, you'll have those things, and really it uses fewer of those what you just call a lat long, um, and it lets your GPS device decide how to get between those points, versus the track, which is a series of very close together um,
GPS
navigation.
waypoints, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
GPS waypoints. So something that a lot of people, a route is great for getting you from point A to point B. That's what you get with Google Maps or Waze or Apple Maps. When you put in that destination and it takes you to whatever location you're going, it's doing it the most efficient and based on what settings you have. You might have it set to avoid highways. You might have it set to avoid certain things. So you know, something that I would when you're talking about a route, it's not very good for what the kind of riding that we like to do. We like to get out and explore that back country. So
Yep.
um, when you're looking at this, a route will also give you turn by turn instructions, right? It's what everyone's used to when they punch in a destination in their GPS. Um, a track is typically no turn by turn instructions. There are some applications out there that will try to make an attempt, and that's really all I can call it. Is it'll make an attempt, because it'll take the slightest turn in the road and turn and tell you that it's a turn, right? So turn right or bear right, and it's just
And
a
and
slight.
10
It,
feet.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's now the technology is getting a lot better, but
Okay.
at the moment, I consider it to be rudimentary at best.
And so the way you navigate a track, I guess a lot of people are confused, is it doesn't give you turn by turn. So it's basically going to be just a line on the map. You're going to be a point on that map, and you just got to drive until you see that line and then follow that line.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. And that's really the best style for what we ride, what we like to do.
Yes. Yes. Correct. Yeah. Because as we said last time, there's no common application that says, "Hey, I'm an adventure rider and I want to go down the gnarliest, rockiest, biggest
Right.
mud holes."
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, I've got a friend who is working on that problem. And when
Oh
he
yeah.
when he solves that problem, he's gonna blow up even bigger than what he is right now. So
Cool.
yeah, so we there's some work being going on in the background for trying to get some of this, um, get a proper route creation tool that will do what we want.
Okay.
So
Great.
and provide turn by turn. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a cool thing. I'm enjoying watching the process in which he's going, but yeah,
Now,
that's going to be in the future.
now I've seen videos of people in like South America winching motorcycles across a big chasm. Is that going to be part of the routing where you route
Yeah,
across the chasm on
yeah,
a rope?
yeah. Can I get the
Or a wood,
hardest route? Yeah,
yeah, or a wood dugout, put your bike in a wooden canoe
yeah,
and
yeah. To cross the Amazon. Yeah,
yeah.
uh, yeah. That's a possibility in the future for sure.
Okay. Well, good. So I think we covered is there anything else we'll cover on routes and tracks? Kind of get
Um,
that.
no, I mean, I would say, when you're following a track, some good information to understand is the basics of reading the map. Um, Understand what north up and track up mean. So obviously, north up just means that your map is facing with the north up, as you normally would see a map on a wall, right?
Yeah.
A paper map. And
Even
so
even if you're going south, it points. Yeah.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
pointing north. The up is north no matter what. So the
Yeah.
problem with following a north up track is you have to do all those calculations in your head that, okay, I'm
Mhm.
going south, which means I need to turn left to go. Okay, wait, no, I need to go right to go. Yeah, and it turns into a nightmare. Um, Track up is typically the most common for us. It keeps the line in front of you, as it were. So as you turn, that line you're following that line. So um, That's a good understanding to have. I typically run with 2 devices. I'll have one in north up configuration where I just have a kind of an overview of the entire area, and then the one that I'm actually following my track on is going track up.
Yeah, I do that on my Jeep. I don't carry 2 devices on my bike normally, but on my Jeep or something, I like to have 2 of them up. And the one I use for really close navigation is the track up. But then
Yep.
for the big picture view, I'll have more like I'll often have an iPad up. It kind of gives
Yep.
me a bigger picture, and I'll put it north up.
Yeah, yeah, and that's my preferred solution is having both of those so that I have a frame of reference of where I am, because you get in some twisty roads and some back, in the mountains and stuff, and you may get turned around pretty easily. So having some north up and go, oh yeah, okay, that's over there, that's over there. It's kind of beneficial to have.
Yeah.
So
Now what I do on my bike, since I don't carry 2 GPSs, I usually leave my one on the dash as a track up. Then I'll just whip out my phone. If I stop, I'll just pull my phone out. If I hopefully I have service or if I have downloaded maps, I'll pull my phone out and use it as a north up.
yep,
Kind of give me
yep.
the big picture view on the phone.
That's typically how I ride. I put my phone on my handlebars, um, with a tablet up on above my dash.
Yeah.
So I run a tablet on my rally bike. Um, but another good skill I would recommend people to learn is how to read topographic data. There's lots of good tutorials out on YouTube for it, so just go out and check those out, um, and just kind of understand the basic of reading contours and the basic topographic data. It's not that difficult. It looks confusing at first, but it's really not.
Yeah. Now we're going to talk a little bit later about mapping data, I believe. Is that correct? Because
Yeah,
the maps, underlying maps, has a big part to do with it when I'm navigating. Because a lot of times I notice and the reason I brought that up because you talked about topographic, and sometimes I get like the Garmin topographic. It
yep.
gets so confusing. It's really hard to see the exact trail you're on because there's so much
So many
topographic,
lines
so
and
many
yeah,
lines. Yeah, it
yep,
gets really confusing.
yep.
So a lot of times when I'm riding my Garmin, I'll take the topographic data off because it's just confusing.
It gets
And just,
confusing, but
yeah.
it's one of those things that I like to have on my overview
Oh
device.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's one of the things I like to look at. I don't like it on my track up device.
yeah,
Put it
yeah.
that way.
Okay, that's good. There you go. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit next about creating routes and tracks. And well, as we talked about last time, there's in our last episode, the software you use and run on your GPS, whether it's a phone, whether it's a Garmin, whatever, is usually, almost always, actually different than the software you're going to use to create the routes and tracks and download them to your computer and all that. So Mac, we're going to cover a little bit of that.
Yeah, so the gold standard for years and years and years has been Garmin Basecamp. I will say it is a massive learning curve. It's free software. There's some downsides to it for me. One of those being that it is no longer supported by them. Garmin gave up on it about 10 years ago. Uh, any updates that have come out in the last 10 years have actually been removing features that we had before. So it's one of those things. But man, having all that data, it's a database of all your stuff, your waypoints, your tracks, your routes, and everything. If you record your tracks, anything you may have can be in there, and you can kind of get an overview at one point of everything you do. And
Yeah,
it's
I'm a big Basecamp fan. I've had it for years. I love it, and I mean it's odd. It most definitely is a difficult
yeah,
program to learn,
it
but
is.
it's a treasure trove of information. It
It's
really is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when you do learn it and it clicks, you just go, "Oh, okay. I get that now."
Yeah.
But it does take a quite a bit to learn it. You're not going to sit down and understand it right away. There's a lot of videos, a lot of tutorials out there that kind of describe it. And will
Well,
teach that.
yeah.
But
My concern, what you're saying is, I knew Garmin had not supporting it anymore, but you're telling me in some of the GPSs it can't even talk to it anymore. And so
Yeah,
I've got to find a different program eventually. So yeah, I'm
yeah,
interested to hear what you have to say.
yeah, and that's another thing. The map data comes from your Garmin device that you own. So any of the new devices that are coming out that they do not support with Basecamp, it makes getting the map data a little bit harder to get into Basecamp. So all the maps that you actually plan against need to be uploaded somehow. Typically, that's done through your Garmin device. Your Garmin device connects, and you can import that in. So it's just you know, Basecamp is great if you want to take the time to learn it, but there's some other tools out there. So I want to touch on one called Mappite. Um, I enjoy this one. It's a very simple application. Let me get this on a share here. So this is Mappite, and what I've done here is I've imported a GPX track actually for a ride that I'm doing next weekend, not this coming weekend, the last weekend of September here. So this is what the organizers put out. This is a track that I've imported in. It's got a bunch of different. There's 3 different days of riding here. So you can see the track. You can see kind of how this goes in. Um, Very simple data. Very simple, clean colors. The theme it's pretty simple to read. It's just kind of an overall decent app to use. So I recommend people learn on
So
this or
so
the
so
next
let,
one.
so let me ask you, they could load it in here. Can they create their tracks and routes in here in this
Yeah,
app or?
you can create the track in here. So let's see. I just cleared that out, and I'm gonna go in here and let's zoom in. Let's go to where are we here? Yeah, we want to go to Pops, don't we? Let's go to Pops. We're gonna start a track. We're gonna start a route, actually, or a track, and we're gonna start that right here at Pops. So, and then you know what? Let's go to Luther, and then we'll just go right up Luther Road here. Get up here where it gets fun. So now we've got several roads to choose from. These are one thing that this software does try to do. It will try to do a dirt road, an unpaved route. So if
Oh
you
yeah.
see, I just highlighted what it thinks are
Oh,
the
oh,
unpaved
cool.
roads. It's
Yeah.
not accurate data, so take it with a grain of salt when you're building routes on it. But yeah, you can sit there and let's just keep going up this road, and then you know what? Let's go this road,
Okay.
and you just keep building it out until you've got a route that or a
Okay.
track that you want, and then you can just save it out. So
Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah. So that's good. That's a good beginner app then. And is it
yeah,
free? That's a free
it
one.
yeah, free. There is no login required. There's if you notice when I refreshed the screen, it didn't even find my location. You
Oh
can
yeah.
you don't even have to give it your location.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty good tool to just lay down some quick and easy tracks.
Okay.
And then the next tool, I really like this tool. So I've loaded up the same GPS file that I'm riding in a week or so, um, and it has
Which
this
which tool is
software.
this?
So this is called GPX.Studio.
Okay.
So if you do a search for GPX.Studio, it comes up. It's just a web app, the same kind. You don't have to log into anything. You don't have to provide any of your information to it. So you can just go in and you can create or you can import files and view them. Um, it's kind of it's a pretty cool tool. So you'll see my waypoints here now. Um,
Can you edit them right there and all?
you can, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
you can click on new, and it will actually create another track. And
Yeah.
you could say, I want to get from let's say I want to start in, I know of a good, I know of a good spot right here. So we're going to start over here. This is my little secret. Well, one of my secret rides here. So I want to start over here in Pineville, and I want to go down Highway K. This is in Missouri, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, see, it tried to take me somewhere else. Let's force that line over here on this one.
Okay, cool. There you go.
Look, it tried to do it again. So
So that's how routing works. Is you're adding shaping points now, correct?
Yep. And so right now I'm just creating a route to get me where I want to go. And I know that this particular road is pretty awesome.
So to summarize, I mean, just to kind of give people an overview, you're just dropping waypoints, and then the app is routing in between there. But sometimes it doesn't go where you want it to go, so you have to add a shaping point to force it to go where you want to go.
Exactly. Yep. That's precisely it. So we're going to come up here, and then let's come in and we're going to meet up with this other track here. So okay. Now we've got another track here, and look at that, already done. Now all you have to do is export this out, and of course you can change this, your activity. You can tell it to allow private roads, which just depends on the data that it has, but you can create a round trip. You can do all kinds of neat stuff with this app. And
change color.
Yeah. And I think this has a lot more options available. It's got a good POI database.
Okay.
So I'm not going to find much down here in Pineville. There's only a couple of gas stations here, but yeah, there's a cemetery right there.
Okay.
So yeah, it just it's a pretty good little tool to just whip up some quick tracks and kind of figure out what it is you want to do. It does have a very cool feature. Let me pull this route back up and see if I can find that setting here somewhere. See, one of the problems is it got so many settings that I can't remember which one I want.
And you're the guru.
Yeah, there it is. So I don't spend a whole lot of time with this application, but you can see here it's a 3D mode. So here's getting into some hills, and you'll see some of that topographic data right there, some contour lines and stuff there. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be going down through some valleys and some hills down here, and staying down in the low stuff for a little bit. So yeah, it's a pretty cool utility. I highly recommend this one as a tool for everybody to kind of learn on.
Okay, great, good. All right.
And then what I like to talk about here, this next application I want to show, it is a subscription, but the amount of information that you can get through it is pretty awesome. And that's called MyRouteApp, where we would call it MyRouteApp. This application is actually developed in believe the Netherlands, so as they pronounce it, it's MyRouteApp. But I'd like to I'll pull this up. So there is a subscription fee to this if you want all of the cool features. There is a free version where you get limited functionality, but with the full version, you get a lot of good stuff. And what I would say is if you try this software out and it interests you, and you feel like you do want to buy that subscription, hold off until like Black Friday, Thanksgiving. They put deals and specials on throughout the year where you can get a lifetime subscription to it. So I got a lifetime subscription to it for a pretty good price. I think it was like $99 for a lifetime. So
cool.
So one of the things that this software is really good with, it utilizes the same map data that your Garmin will. So Garmin, when you talk about like the Zumo XT, the Zumo line in general, Garmin is using HERE map data. So that's what this software is doing is using the HERE map data, and that's its routing engine. And if you're a gold member, you have that HERE you also have TomTom and OpenStreetMap. So those are the three main map providers, map data providers in the world.
And the reason that's important is because map data is what's used by Garmin for one, but map data is used by a lot of the routing decisions, right?
Correct.
And,
Yep.
and so if it needs to go down a street or a trail or whatever, that may or may not be in every map, and the type
Yep.
of road it is, everything. That's what the map data is. Hey, it's a dirt road that goes here, or it's a paved road that goes here, a toll road, whatever it might be.
Yep. Yep. And that's good, important information to have for your GPS device and for when you're planning.
And to clarify again, that information is not in the GPX file you receive.
Correct. So that's probably another common misconception, right? When people will ask how to download a map, you don't really need to download maps for things. Your map data is dependent on what device and what application you're using. So you don't download maps for let's say the Sooner Adventure ride that we're about to put on in a month. You don't download the maps for that. You're just downloading this GPS file that's going to overlay on whatever mapping application you're using and whatever map data you're using.
Yes.
So, it's a good, good to understand that distinction so that it's not too confusing when you see those terms thrown out there. Again, route, track, waypoint.
Yep. Okay. Good.
And so here I've got this. This is over in Arkansas. This is a really fun little ride that we took a couple of years ago and kind of got caught in this little trail. So I started off in Waldron, and I routed this out through here. We kind of come up this little back road, and then and that's what these little blue ones here that I've got, the little teardrop shape. That's a shaping point, right? So we talked about that shaping point, trying to just force that line to make that route the way you want. You see this little hand, that's called a via point. And that is telling your GPS device, I want to go here. I want to make sure that don't miss this. You can miss these other ones. Just make sure that you get to this point. And if you think about it, that's kind of how a route works. The route points are these specific spots that you want to hit, and then your GPS makes up the road in between. So that path in between point A and point B, it decides that. So right here, I've got this made sure. I want to make sure that, hey, if I load this up in my GPS and I'm not following a track, right? If I'm trying to follow a route, I want to make sure that I at least get to this point, and then because this is where the fun starts. So this goes up the mountain, and then you keep on going. It's basically just a Forest Service road for quite some time, and then you get to this little spot right here. And what I'd like to show you here is the overlays that you get with your subscription, your gold subscription with MyRouteApp. So you get these overlays, and now I can throw down a Google Maps satellite imagery of this area, and then I can zoom in and see that road doesn't really look like much of a road anymore. It is a couple of tracks going through the trees, and that was a blast of a track that we went through. So that trail got us caught for a couple of hours that we didn't expect. So fun little adventure. So I marked that one as a, hey, I want to make sure I get to this point because this is where the real fun starts. If you follow this road, it's just going to take you on down the other side of the mountain and follow these roads down to the highway, right? So, again, you've got all this data, and all of this is using using that here map engine on the back end for the routing data and the map data, but then it overlays this Google Maps image. Is essentially all it is. It's just an overlay. It's an image to say, hey, look, this is what Google Maps says it is, and you can pull up, TomTom. I can make it look like a TomTom map, and I can see what a TomTom device would see or a TomTom application. So yeah,
that's cool.
There's some really cool stuff here. And the overlays are really good. So here's an open topo map. So again, that topo data, you can see you're right along the ridge line all the way across.
That's cool.
So yeah,
I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, so I like that application. I tend to build a lot of my tracks using this application, and then I'll export it out. I'll export it out as a track, but it stays in here as a route in my little library here. And the reason I do that is this application actually does have an app for your phone or tablet, and it is CarPlay and Android Auto compatible. So you can actually you can take this this route and load it up in your application if you have that subscription, and it follows exactly the way you created it, even if it's a route, and it gives you turn-by-turn instructions. So kind of cool. Just something to note. There's a ton of these tools out there. There's a ton of these. I will say Furcot for me has a special place. When you're creating a multi-day.
Okay, so let me clarify. This is another application.
This is a different. Yeah, this is a different application. This is. I just want to throw this out there as someone. If you're planning a multi-day trip, this is a really good tool. When you create a new trip, you can say, let's start in Mustang, Oklahoma, and I want to go back to Silverton, Colorado. And you give it a name. And then you can say, and this is kind of where this software gets really cool. It's when do you want to go? Do you want to do it all in one day, or do you want to make multiple days of it? So if I started, let's say I started on the 30th, and I want to make it take 2 days to get out there. And I want to start my day riding at 9 a.m. and let's end it at 5. Let's just do a 9 to 5er. You can tell it, do not take toll roads, do not take highways, and show me some camping options, right? So then you click done, and it's going to create a general route, right? So
cool.
It's created something. It looks a little funky, you know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not normal for you to go out there.
Yeah, so it's not the normal way to get out there, but it's also taking into account how you want to get there.
Okay.
So one of the cool things, you'll see this little camp icon, right? This is a yellow icon. It shows you that you've got the it says, hey, this is 5 o'clock. This is where you should be at 5 o'clock on that after that ride.
Okay.
So kind of a cool little deal. You can go through and you can actually tell it how many miles. Let's do that. Let's see. See, another subscription, right? $14 a year. I used to have the Furcot Pass when I used this heavily, but you can have it. You can tell it how many miles you can go on a tank of gas, and it will map out your fuel stops on this map for you, and then you zoom in and you just find the closest fuel stop to where it thinks you need to get fuel. So kind of a cool little thing. Just want to toss that out there as an option for people. Like I said, another little subscription, $14 a year. But if you really get into it, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, that's cool.
So and then
that's kind of like spin the wheel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like just route me there. But you can also go in and you can drag that over. You can say, oh, I want to go this way instead.
Yeah. Okay.
And it'll try to reroute. Oh wait, it says go. Let's go this way. So let's just go ahead and change that. Okay, now it's going to take us down some back road. See, this is getting good here.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just something I want to kind of show everybody that's a possibility too. Like I said, lots of different applications do the same thing, but in the end, what you get is a GPS file that you can load into your GPS or your phone and follow the line.
Now, I have done a fair amount of planning on Google Maps. It's not ideal. It's a little bit funky. These look a lot easier in Google Maps than what I've been doing. But
yeah, Google Maps, they have the best data, map data bar none, they have the best map data for anything ever. That's their forte, but they don't provide a good way to plan things very well
for
for
adventure
us.
riders. Yeah.
Right, right. So that's why I tend to go over here to MyRouteApp, and I do like to have that familiarity of the map data with Google Maps, and then create stuff using that.
Great.
So that's kind of my, I mean, that's
Kind of
that's
the
kind
best
of,
of both worlds, really.
it is, it really
Only
is, yeah.
only downside, you got to pay for it, but
Exactly. But you know what? I was happy to support the project.
yeah.
They are actually motorcycle riders,
Oh yeah.
that in that this is what they do. This is
They
this
get
is ex-
they get it.
yeah, they get it. This
Yeah.
their whole concept is to build this up as a way to do motorcycle navigation.
Okay. Cool.
So
Awesome.
yeah, and there's some other apps out there. There's Curvature, which is kind of another one of those. But it like I said, there's so many different things. There's Caltopo, which is a pretty good map application. I tend to use this more for just understanding kind of what I would call data gathering for a location versus a navigation experience. But you can create tracks on here. You can do all the same things. Same when you look at Gaia. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
see, I know a lot of people are using Onyx. That seems to be fairly popular.
yeah. Actually, I have an Onyx subscription as well. I I spend way too much money on maps and navigation apps, but
Yeah.
it allows me the opportunity to understand them all and
Yeah.
figure out what it is that I want, and get all the information that I can on everything.
Yeah. Well, we've gone a long time here. That's a lot of information, really good information. So yeah, that's fantastic. And so, what would be your recommendations for people that are as this for far as this phase two or episode two? What's your recommendations for people to get started with GPS, to get started with planning, things like that?
I say try Mappite, mappite.org, and GPX.Studio. Try those out. Figure out if which one of those you like better for what you're doing, and then just play around with it. Create some. You know what? Here's the best way to do something on these. Create a route or create a track to get to work
There
from
you
from
go.
your house to work. Create a track. Put that on your GPS device, whatever that
And
may be.
and make it not go down the darn interstate. Pick you
Right.
some back roads or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Pick some back roads. Make sure that you've configured it in a way, and you've told it where you want to go, and
Yeah.
basically do the same thing that you would do for an adventure ride, but just do it with a known destination, and
Okay.
a known in between, and it lets you learn the tools. Right, you're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna learn because you know that route to work. Right, you know exactly how to get from your house to work, and so. It gives you that opportunity to go, okay, well, I know this road goes through, I know this road goes here, and you can create something, and then you can follow that line and just kind of, it's a good way to learn it.
And
Or
then modify it next to yeah.
exactly, yep, yep.
Yeah.
And another option is if you're riding shotgun in a car, let them, you can play with your GPS while the driver is driving you around. It's just kind of one of those things to have fun with. There's a lot of good applications
Yeah.
on your smartphone.
One of my pet peeves is people, they seem to often they just follow whatever the route takes them. I've heard of horror stories of people in RVs get stuck in the mountains because they followed the GPS track or the route up over the mountain or down a dirt road where they should have taken an RV and get snowed in or something like that. So
Yeah, yeah. So that's that's such a that is a
uh,
problem, right? It is definitely a problem when people do not take into account what the destination looks like. I have come across minivans on trails before because they didn't realize that
Yeah.
where they were going was going to turn into that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely something you got to be cognizant of what your map data shows, right?
Yeah.
If you just blindly follow that line, blindly follow that route, it could be disastrous. You could wind
Hey,
up on private property.
I had a private property. I had one guy that the sheriff showed up at his work later the next day because he was on private property he shouldn't have been on. He didn't even know it, and
Yep.
he shouldn't have. I mean, he should have.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it happens, right? If you're not paying attention, if you're following a track and it looks suspicious, there's a lot of tools out there that you should probably already have in your toolbox of smartphone applications to understand where that data, who owns that land. Is it a public road? If it's public road, then you do have rights. Now you get into some areas where it's public road, but the locals have decided that that's a private area, and you can get into some trouble.
We have that in Oklahoma now.
Looking at UK
Yeah,
Trail.
yeah, right.
So I've heard, so everything between Clayton and Indian Highway is supposed to be private.
In Oklahoma.
Yeah, in Oklahoma.
Yeah, for people who are listening that are not from Oklahoma, there's this trail that's been around for almost probably a century or more, called K Trail.
Yep.
And it's really supposed to be a public trail. I mean, it is truly a trail.
Yep.
And it's real famous. Been around a long time. But yeah, like you're saying, some people seem to think it's not it's private now.
and and with the area the way it is, and the locals and the law enforcement in the area, they just don't.
They're of law enforcement.
Yeah, they're just not going to enforce any of that. It is a county road, but they're not going to enforce it. The locals can claim ownership. So everything I keep hearing that from the fire tower east is good, and I can say that I've been from Indian Highway all the way east as of 2 years ago. I sent my brother down it just earlier this year, just a few months ago, and talked to locals, and locals are fine with it. The ones that have been talked to, they're fine with it. But it's always something to stay cognizant of understanding where you are, and if you are on private property, make sure that you don't get on private property unless you have permission.
Right. Well, that about wraps us up for this episode. This turned out great about routing. So, what are we going to cover on the next episode?
Oh, I think that the next episode we're going to take a deeper dive into something like a base camp and creating those multi-day trips, those multi-day destinations.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to cover is more about how to have the database. Because I've got a huge database. I've been doing this stuff for 25 years. Huge database of tracks and routes and places I've been, and waypoints, and then how do you share those with other people? I often share via Google Maps, my maps, but there's probably some other ways to do that that's easier for people. And so yeah, maybe we'll get into that next time.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.